Hello, everyone. Welcome back. On behalf of Read Exhibitions, I would like to thank you all for joining the session on day 4th of India Warehousing Show Digital Week. I would also like to thank all my speakers for taking out time to share their valuable insights today. Before we start the session, we would like to show you a small video which has been shared by our knowledge session partner, Zebra. Can we have the video, please?
My apologies, there's no sound. You need to share sound.
Call before it's implanted in a patient? Or what's the most efficient path to pick the 3 rush orders that just came in? And did that customer just use self-checkout to pay for a potato when they actually bought a steak? The where is equally crucial. Where is that forklift with a pallet of raw materials needed to keep your production line running? Or where in the yard is the trailer that is supposed to be at dock 12? Your inventory system says you have 20 containers of your best-selling baby formula in your store. But are they actually in the right spot on the shelf? And how critical is knowing how? Very. Can your medical team easily determine if these vaccines were exposed to damaging temperatures while in transit? How optimized is the load on that trailer? The one that's supposed to leave in 30 minutes? And how secure are the thousands of mobile devices and printers being used across your operation? Being able to answer these questions is essential to the success of your business. And when your teams on the front line have to do it across your entire operation, round the clock, every day, it can be daunting as well. That's why you need a partner that has deep software, services, and solutions expertise to complement more than 50 years of purpose-built technology leadership. Enter Zebra. Right now, we can help you not only answer these questions, but empower your front line to act on the most important question of all. What should they do about it? Because information is insightful, but action is invaluable. With Zebra, you benefit from our deep understanding of your industry's workflows, our experience analyzing massive amounts of real-time data, our leadership in prescriptive analytics, and our continued innovations in software solutions and services, giving you more visibility across your entire operation, increasing the productivity of your frontline staff, and helping you better serve your customers. So put your data to work and ensure every asset and worker is visible, connected, and optimally utilized, and gain a performance edge right now with Zebra.
With e-commerce demands increasing and
Okay, great. Let me just introduce the very important topic of today's webinar. The last mile delivery, a race to satisfy consumers, breaking down the digitally empowered, value-based and customer-centric last mile delivery while balancing the commercial reality. And I'm pleased to introduce the moderator of our session today, Jasmine Singh, Senior Executive Director, Advisory and Transaction Services, India. Jasmine has over 29 years of work experience, of which 16 years has been spent in the logistic industry. Jasmine has worked with companies like UPS, TNT, Hilti, Expeditors, handling assignments, including the whole range of supply chain services from consulting, international freight management, third-party logistics, express transportation, etc. Currently, Jasmine is responsible for the overall direction, strategy, and growth of the industrial, land, and logistic vertical for CBRE India. Recorded version of webinar will be available on the platform. And now, without further talk here, I would like to return the time over to our moderator, Mr. Singh. Jasmine, over to you.
Thank you so much, Rima. A very good afternoon to everyone. I hope all of you are doing well. I think that's the first question we always end up asking each other when we meet in a post-pandemic era. But I think it's a pleasure to be a part of the India Warehousing DigiConnect 2021. Thanks a lot to Reed Munch for organizing this virtual conference, and which is always a much more tougher job. You have seen some glitches here and there because technology, as we would like to master, is never letting us master itself. But it's a wonderful experience. I think it's always a learning experience, even with 3 decades of WorkX, to hear industry experts as we have them on the panel. India, as we all know, and I'm not going to give you a macro overview, it is a preferred destination by large international investment partners, global manufacturers. And I think the favorable demographics are only a part of it. Our large population is only a part of it. But the kind of investments which have gone into infra, the digitization, the improved ease of doing business, growing trade potential, etc., are major pillars on which this entire drive is based on. Warehousing and distribution always was a steady Eddie business to be in. But I think in a post-pandemic era and during pandemic, this has proven to be that ray of sunshine, not just from a real estate perspective that I come from, but also from an economy perspective. This has been the saving grace of reaching out to millions of people. And I think when we talk about warehousing and distribution, much as we focus on to the larger warehousing footprints, but last mile is an aspect which is being focused upon today, because the end client, being the king, is wanting the ease of operation, he's wanting better services, he's wanting time-definite deliveries, which brings us to today's topic, which essentially is the last mile delivery, a race to satisfy the end customer. So without wasting any more of your time, I would like to do a quick introduction to the panelists. It's a pleasure to actually welcome Badri, who's a director supply chain of Swiggy. Badri has about 13 years plus of experience in various roles of supply chain management, planning, forecasting, project management, and contract manufacturing. We also have Bipin with us. Bipin is a vice president for DHL, manages their West and East region. Bipin essentially encompasses and is a business lead for everything that DHL does as a large conglomerate, offering supply chain solutions, express transportation, etc., in both these regions. We have Rudra, who will be joining us shortly. He's a director for last mile, specifically for Flipkart, which is one of the largest e-com companies in the country. Prior to Flipkart, he also has about 11-year experience from Unilever, which gives him a unique experience of having both FMCG and e-com domain expertise. And his forte always has been on strategy, planning, and general management. We also have Radhakrishnan, who will be joining us from Tata StarQuick. We have Royston. Royston is a vertical lead for Zebra Technologies for APAC. They essentially are a supply chain technology company, and his personal passion is supply chain logistics, with a focus on supporting customers with their supply chain digitization and warehouse modernization. We also have diversity on the panel. Shweta has been kind enough to join the panel. She's General Manager Corporate Strategy at Safe Express, with about 17 years of experience in areas such as strategy, corporate communication, research and analytics, and training and development. This is a quick introduction to the panel. With that, I think let's jump on to the panel discussion. Bipin, if you may allow me to pose my first set of questions to you, as the largest or one of the largest 3PL companies in the world. When we talk about 3PL industry and we talk about last mile delivery, what do you think are the largest challenges that a company like DHL faces on the last mile delivery? And what do you think about initiatives on cost cutting in the last mile delivery, which has seen a huge amount of velocity? And how can it be done with the proved technology implementation? Over to you, Bill. Thank you.
Thanks, Jasmine. Thanks for the introduction, and also starting with me for the first question set. So happy to answer that. Yeah, I think from our last mile delivery, I think there are 2 sets of last mile basically to be done, right? One is for the e-com segment, and second is for the brand.coms. right? And currently what focus is more should be more on brand.coms, because e-coms have evolved over a period of time and they're still evolving and they're still optimizing, and they have their own algorithms and systems developed very well, which is at an evolved stage, but still there are work to be done. But more focus, what we should be looking at as a 3PL partner is how can we support brand.coms to put up their brand.com so that they can start last mile deliveries. So currently every brand.coms are a B2B, the e-com players are a B2B. So our challenges when we see that is for a brand.com to venture into a last mile and open up their web portal for customers to order in is basically how are they going to deliver to the last mile? And that's the biggest challenge that they face. The cost of delivery, even for a largest player, is much higher right now, anywhere between 30 to 40% ranges in just in the last mile delivery. And plus on top of it, if you add returns and all those things, that adds further the cost to that, right? So imagine a brand.com coming in and putting up their center. First is they need to give customer service, basically, because that's the expectation which any brand.com a customer will look at it, because they got used to the e-com players who are giving that kind of level of service, either next day delivery or same day delivery. So one of the areas one definitely should be looking at is how can we support these brand.coms to deliver last mile by bringing more closer them to the customer base, and where we can look at providing them a micro fulfillment centers more near to the cities, right? And those are shared asset network of micro fulfillment centers where the brand.coms can ride on, and for them the last mile delivery cost comes reduction comes from there. Right. Second aspect is definitely, and for any player, whether it's an e-com or whether it's a brand.com who wants to start on the last mile delivery, is all about how are you capturing the challenges which are there, right? From a customer centricity. Right now, the focus is more towards what's the customer buying pattern, looking at the association rules and market basket analysis, and suggesting and cross-selling, upselling on those sides. But how are we looking at the delivery side? What is the customer behavior pattern? How repeatedly customer has rejected my deliveries or returned my products? And when I sell them next, do I charge them, give them free delivery, or do I charge them delivery time this time? Because those are the patterns one needs to identify to further optimize and charge to those customers who are always defaulting and returning their deliveries because some or the other reason, and whatever the cause of it. Yeah. So that's part is important for even for a brand.com and for a e-com delivery, e-com players, to look at those analyze those patterns of the customers, and hence to any company to look at is important is setting up a right data science team, right? And data science is not just hiring data scientists. It's all about data scientists, data journalists, data architects. Everything comes under one roof to create that user experience, to analyze all these patterns of deliveries and to see how can you optimize, because everybody is working on route optimization. And there are off-the-shelf products which are available on the route optimization, but those products are only looking at auto-diverting deliveries or auto-diverting the shipments, or auto-collecting the shipments en route, but nobody is looking at what is the delivery patterns, right? And how do I assess that? That becomes a critical part to optimize your cost. Of course, definitely, I think one of the big areas where as a 3PL we can look at is putting up a last mile micro fulfillment centers, and that should be the focus, where every brand.com will leverage on that, and they get a kickstart when they start up their first portal online for any customer.
Thanks, Vipin. Any mention of technology? What is it that you are doing, and what kind of technologies are available for managing these initiatives that you just talked about?
Right. See, from a technology point of view, I would say yes. As an organization, as any 3PL, there are ready-made tools and techniques which are Blue Yonder is one of them, and they have their own. But these are all systems which are age-old systems which have been coming, and we have been adding on. They have been buying new technologies on that to ride on to give the latest. Look at the last mile coordinates. Look at the last mile patterns, the density. But how does one reroute a delivery is important when there is a congestion on the road, because that's where the time for delivery goes in, right? Second is how does one technology where we are not just telling them immediate delivery of 2 hours or 3 hours, but we are giving a consumer a convenient delivery. So the requirement of a consumer is convenient delivery. That is 90% of the consumers or 70% of the consumers as per the survey say we want not immediate delivery, we want convenient delivery. Which means that I have placed the order at this time, I'm expecting delivery at between 5 and 6 because I'm back home by that time. And that's not the case today, because the deliveries come at 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and that's where how can we identify those convenience options for customers, and how is our tool designed to capture that? What is the customer delivery time expectations, right? And that's where you are able to reroute your orders much better, plan your orders much better, and you can reduce your supply chain cost or the last mile delivery cost to that extent. With regards to technology, I think while there are a lot of technologies, I mean, the drones and all, which are still ahead of time. I mean, we still are a long way to go and look at drones and all. But the biggest thing what we can work on is the data, right? And there are a lot of things that can be used using that existing in-house data. And that's where I feel that today's TMS and all the technologies which are available are not looking at the real-time data of existing customer for that particular sector. Because every sector, whether it's a garment brand.com or whether it's a fashion retail brand.com, has its own nuances when the online ordering is there, right? And if it's a grocery brand.com, or if it is a confectionery brand.com which is there, and putting up a brand.com which is there, they have their own nuances which are there. So how this data can be linked from the sales pattern, the delivery pattern, the warehouse processing pattern is what is important. Secondly, technology wise, while we work on the technology, another part which I foresee is a bigger challenge is most of the companies who are looking brand.com are riding on their existing warehousing network, which is meant to cater to B2B and not B2C. The mindset of catering to B2C is completely different. Are these warehouses designed for managing returns? Are these designed, because they have been designed for box in, box out. So are these designed to manage inward? But everybody feels that, okay, we can ride on the same network, but the reality is not the case. And reality is the dynamics of managing returns and each is picking is completely different than box picking. And hence a right technology, a right OMS, which has a right DMS system, right, to manage where the distribution of orders can take place, whether it should be delivered through store, whether it's delivered to any other things, whether it's through my warehouse or my distributor, is what a right platform is essential. A right OMS tool is essential for that. Another thing, and to cut down on the last mile, is creating a pack stations, which is the delivery stations, right? Digital delivery stations which are there. How can we look at those delivery stations, putting up in each and every society of the building? So, and that's a shared network. So any e-com player, any brand.com is having a common infra, and they ride on that, whichever locker is free, I go and deliver it. So anytime in the evening, somebody comes up, he knows his code, he goes and picks it up. So can we look at those systems where I can go and keep it conveniently there, so that any delivery guy don't have to wait for 2 hours or 3 hours to do security check-in at the society gates? So those are the various things one can definitely look at from a technology perspective to improvise on the last mile delivery aspects.
Sure. Thank you so much. I think with that interesting aspect from a world leader on the supply chain side, let's move on and hear what a customer has to say on this. Tapan, my next question is actually to you. How would you, or let's say, how does the growing last mile delivery space rides on the Indian e-com sector per se? Now we've heard e-com, last mile delivery for e-com and non-e-com, but you being from the industry side, how do you think it rides on e-com? How are startups putting their supply chain back on track, especially in the post-pandemic era, with all the rush, all the constraints that you have seen? And we all agree, Roy will talk about it, Bipin mentioned it. India needs a technology boost for supply chain and logistics. So within your organization and with your knowledge, what are your thoughts on these three different aspects? Over to you, please.
Thank you, Mr. Singh. So at Starquet, for us, last mile delivery, eventually we look at last mile delivery drives profitability for us. We look at, can last mile cost be less than 5%? If not, then the cost is too high to do our business. We must all remember that last mile is a function of area covered in radius as well as traffic. Grocery where Starquet is available, also hardlines. Average order weighs about 8 to 10 kgs with a bill value of about 1300 to 1400 rupees. Some players are using a 15 minutes delivery window as a differentiator, but is that really required? During pandemic, we all saw that the time to serve the customer did go up. And in grocery, which is predominantly a face-to-face delivery, right? Unlike an Amazon, which is a dry delivery, Grocery is very much face to face. So is there a technology available which will help in solving this problem of how do we do a face-to-face delivery with the customer, right? How can the customers do a quick count of the products being delivered to them, especially in grocery, because in grocery you deliver multiple products. The customer is ordering a basket of products. As Vipin mentioned, we look at as technology is also required in optimizing routes, because optimizing route is essential. It just cannot be a diversion of route. We know that one delivery cannot constitute a route, and a single route cannot be optimized also. So we feel that slotted delivery is the best when it comes to grocery, which delivers your full basket. This also allows us to handle the anxious customer and also offer convenience, because anxious customers always are looking out when am I going to get my products, where is my product reached. So both. So slotted delivery fits in best in terms of convenience as well as easing the anxiety, the last minute anxiety, because customer has upfront paid for it. Another challenge which we foresee right now and we face is we still have buildings, right? About five stories, 4 stories, 7 stories, which essentially do not have lifts. Also, we have encountering that there are buildings where there is no service lift. So now lifting a grocery order, which is about 8 to 10 kg, 4 to 5 is a challenging aspect. Can we have a solution so that the life of the delivery boy is eased? Ultimately, he's the final delivery boy who's picking the load up to the 4-story or the 5-story and handling it 8 to 10 kg. Having a solution on this will definitely help, not only us, but also the overall sector. Some of the other challenges which we foresee, right, and we are constantly on lookout is handling of fresh eggs, chill and cold solutions. Can we have cost-effective solutions? The current solutions on the cold, having the gel pads, right, or the temperature sensitivity, right, we need to maintain the product at a particular temperature so that the product does not suffer the abuse. Can we have some effective solutions over it? Coming to your the first question on how the logistics startup has done. Well, we all know the second wave of COVID hit everybody, and logistics and supply chain was no exception to this. The challenges still continue, and with the threat of a third wave or the Delta variant. However, we all see that everybody of us are better prepared since we have now experienced 2 waves. The supply chain pressure on the product availability is easing as we look, and so is the cost of resources, which were very high during the pandemic. I still see that there is a long way to go before the pre-COVID norms are restored. And I will not be surprised if a few subsegments within the supply chain, such as the transportation, the cost of transportation has just gone up for every logistics supply chain provider, right? Even if I don't expect that to normalize to pre-COVID norms. Thank you, Mr. Singh.
Tapan, a quick one that you missed out on. How can technology enable override these constraints that you just mentioned? We talked about an increased transportation costs. We talked about labor issues or handling issues with infrastructure being poorer than expected. So how do you think tech can help you there?
So on the technology side, what are the technology? How can we ensure that while delivering the cold chain product, right, the temperature is maintained? There is a constant feedback coming in, right? The product delivery in a shipper box, right? The temperature is maintained or using it. Now these solutions are also required as we move into tier 2 and tier 3 cities. So that's one of the things that we are always looking out. Is there a cost-effective solutions? Today's solutions on gel pads are there, but then gel pads don't long their life cycle. We always see the gel pads losing their shelf life very early, in spite of putting in a lot of investment in the capex aside to maintaining the temperature of the gel pad when not in use.
Thank you so much, Tapan. I think interesting views. Since we talked about technology both with Bipin and Tapan, let's talk to an expert from the region. Roy, over to you. My questions typically are divided into two different segments. Given the opportunities and the challenges that we talked about in a pre and a post-pandemic era, how would you ensure success in terms of overriding them by using technology? And that's my first and foremost question, because you are representing a technology company on this panel. And technology is not cheap. So a most common comment that I hear from end users is that, is tech giving them enough ROI? Can you justify that ROI in this segment of the business that we are representing? Over to you, Roy, please.
Thank you, Mr. Singh. Good afternoon, everybody. Okay, so I think to the first question here is, we've heard from both esteemed panelists in terms of some of the technology, some of the challenges that are being faced from a 3PL as well as a shipper, right? So to us, from a tech perspective, we want to advocate one critical factor first. And what would that be? First, we need visibility, because today's, I think we are talking about last mile delivery, last mile fulfillment, call it either way, right? Customers are king, the customer is a king, right? Okay, basically he or she will be demanding for king or queen, will be demanding for best-in-class services at the best possible commercial price, right? But in order to actually service their requirements, visibility is critical, as well as, okay, obviously the product, the inventory profile, right? And looking at, and what I think was mentioned early on is the infrastructure availability, because different inventory profiles, different product categories, right? While they are being transported, okay, from first to last, okay, will require different handling protocols. So visibility is the first thing. So how, okay, with visibility, you will then fix up your infrastructure. Now, infrastructure, I mean by actual networks. I think it was mentioned early on that you could be shared resources or actually startups. I mean, you built up your own warehousing infrastructure, right? Everything is all built to accommodate the customer service level expectations and coverage that you want. Okay, so how do we as a technology company, support these endeavors? Well, simply put, okay, and nothing is actually simple. It's pretty complex, but let us look at the categories involved. We have just talked about visibility being critical for anybody, be it the shipper or the shippee, the person that's doing the actual shipping, okay? The consigning, sorry, just mixed up a little bit of the terms there. But it's about people, right? The customers, okay, internal, external, okay, who's running the network itself, the processes involved, right? What are the proper or the optimized processes that will go through? The systems that are involved here. We talked a little bit, I think, about information technology systems, transportation management systems, warehouse management systems, etc., etc., etc. Right? There are also other technologies. For example, right, delivery. When we classify last mile delivery, does it really have to be delivered all the way to the particular customer? And given the fact that there could be some, challenges in terms of, well, the non-presence of service lifts, etc. Why can't we deliver it to the bottom, to the building, if there was such an infrastructure? What about actually having them delivered to a pickup drop-off point? Locker systems are prevalent, right? But all these things, whatever it may be, and I'm sure it's going to be discussed later on, right? In terms of drones and so on and so forth. But we need to have, okay, data, okay, that is digitized, that can be shared. That means it is captured at every critical milestone, right, for performance management. So this helps you to measure what is being done, revise it accordingly to suit the prevailing circumstances. And of course, not every day is a Sunday, right? So there could be, incidents, I would call it exceptional handling. That could be, as was mentioned early on, it could be traffic-based conditions, it could be weather-based conditions, it could be anything, right? So the thing is that there must be some form agility and resiliency to be able to move to the next best move guidance in terms of, or next activity. So when you do that, technology comes first with a very, very basic, okay, barcodes. You've got to have barcodes. We have to forget about manual pen and paper, because that's where you capture data so that you can actually put it into an SOR, a system of record. Like I mentioned earlier on, it could be order management system, transport management system, warehouse management system, etc., etc. You can couple it with AI, without AI, whatever, depending on what's gonna, what suits the, or the budget, right? The routing is important. So in terms of, okay, but as mentioned earlier on, transportation routing is, there will be logical algorithms inside there, but does it take into account deviated, etc. handling situations? So all these act in, but you need data to tell you that. Data from multiple sources, from the actual inventory, right? Within your network itself, where is the particular consignment at? We're talking about transport, whether it's a 10 kilo, 15 kilo, or whatnot have you. From there, you need to know where it is. Yeah. And of course, in order to have visibility, you need to have ruggedized equipment. So, most people say, yeah, so how do you actually get that? Okay, if you are mobile, because the transportation agent, be it in-source or outsource, is mobile, you need to have a ruggedized, which means, okay, heavy duty field usage, mobile computers. Okay, why? Because, hey, India is a smart nation, right? You have some of the best infrastructure in terms of network reliability, right? Data is cheap, right? But data is important. So you can actually have access to the data using best-in-class equipment, all-weather usage, because we're talking about LMD, last mile delivery, right? It could be raining, it could be shining, it could be snowing to a certain area, right? It could be other circumstances, right? And then when you combine all these things in together with other ancillary solutions, that will help. So it's all about people, processes, systems, and all other technologies that I believe that we're going to talk about. Everything here coupled together, right? If you want to actually latch on into the 4.0 vision, gives you interconnectivity. You can share the data, you can have the insight so that you can have that visibility for proactive and not reactive management. So I hope that answers the first part of the question.
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
All right. So the second question here, as I was going to, could you just slightly repeat it a little bit, please?
I think the second question was related to the cost effectiveness of
yes.
technology.
Thank you. So technology, as a let us be frank, right? Technology is not cheap, and even if it were, the problem isn't about that. The problem here, because most of the time, is as a company trying to explore how to transform their business, right, to be, shall we say, B2C savvy. Okay, you're able to, whether it's traditional e-commerce, right, or platforms, front of store, back of store, I mean, using the platforms or their own brand.com platforms, right? There's a lot to choose from, but one needs to structure, okay, the transformation down there and identify what is pertinent, what is important. So you got to go by looking at what really makes sense for the business, right? No change happens overnight. Technologies will vary in different costs. So when we talk about ROI, okay, what does it mean? Let me just refer this back again to what I just mentioned. People, processes, systems, and other ancillary technologies. What is the end outcome? The end outcome is to have a satisfied customer knowing throughout the journey where his or her particular consignment is at, right? And most customers are savvy enough, it's a smart nation whereby they know that they are paying for a particular service commitment. It could be complimentary, right? It could be premium price or what not have you from there. But what they want to know is, where is my package? Okay. So if anything that helps to, okay, ensure that he or she, the ultimate consignee, gets the package, okay, you'll get your ROI from that. Now, how do I actually further categorize this? You look at inventory accuracy, right? So before they even make the purchase, is the inventory accurate? You need to have real-time visibility. When you make the purchase, okay, and you have all the details on there, is the consignment actually packed correctly with the correct shipping label, right? So that's another plus, right? And when it's done, okay, this also ensures that the system is able to, shall we say, logically route it based on whatever parameters that's done, okay? And if there is, AI locked into this, incorporated into the TMS, transport management system, that allows exceptional handling or exceptional handling whereby the customer is there to collect, or it's a delayed delivery or what not have you, right? It's agile enough to be able to accommodate that particular situation, right? If you talk about handling, okay, if there are other solutions, tech solutions like sensors that are able, in the case of groceries or healthcare products that are able to be shipped that requires some form of cold chain management. There are available sensors down there that you can actually do a continuous monitoring, real-time monitoring, and send that information directly to the cloud using existing infrastructure, right? All these will give you that ROI. The only problem is it's always difficult to make the first step, right? How do you do it? So other people would say, okay, think big, but focus and prioritize, start small. First, ensure that your operations are already digitized. It's mandatory. No longer can we rely on pen and paper, right? From there, choose and identify what your prerogatives are, then select the technology. If you do not know what technologies to explore or to ask a consultant, ask within the peer, seek help. I'm sure most of the learned panelists here, if they are let's call ourselves as service providers, right? Technology providers will be more than happy to help, right? Not every solution fits everybody. So it's, it will be bespoke to a certain extent. And that's how we believe that you will actually get ROI, right? You will get your ROI from the warehousing side, the transportation side, the visibility, etc. Right. Thank you.
Thanks, Roy. Very insightful. And I think Rudra has joined us. Rudra, as an organization which invested very early and very heavily into technology, I think let's build upon these questions to you. At Flipkart, what role does artificial intelligence, robotics, and other technologies play, especially when it comes down to last mile delivery? And also, since you are one of the largest players in this segment, let's talk about the physical challenges of setting up these last mile delivery setups in a country like India, where zoning plans, etc., and quality of assets actually hamper the growth of a large enterprise like yourself. Over to you, Rudra.
Thank you, Jasmine. So I'll first touch upon your first question, which is around technology. Last mile is actually a very unique asset, last mile delivery hub. So in my previous role, I was working for, Hindustan Unilever, which was, and I was running a factory. Now, if you compare a factory or a big box, even in eCart, we have a fulfillment center. Now, if you see the challenges or the modus operandi, it's completely different. First of all, one of the key tenets of last mile, and which also connects to your second question, which is around the challenges. Last mile nodes has to be as close to customer as possible. Simple reason, most of the delivery happens with the help of two-wheeler riders, right? And any supply chain 101 states that, you have to cover the long distances through the most efficient mode of transport, right? If you look at the way Mumbai Dabba operate, right? In the source pockets where they collect the dabba, they will basically come to one location, then the entire trunk, which is the long distance, is covered by train, which is the most efficient mode of transport. So what I'm trying to say is that first thing is that you want to place your nodes very, very close to the customers, which means for a player like us, we are present across the country, we need to open so many facilities, right? And therefore the scale of the facilities ideally will not be very high. In fact, we don't want last mile nodes to handle volumes which are, say, more than 5,000 shipments per day. Therefore, the scope there is more of artificial intelligence and less of, I would say, physical infrastructure around robotics and automation. We are tempted to do that, but when you really do the hard maths and try to, get the ROI, it really, doesn't shape up. Now, if I talk of what are the opportunities where artificial intelligence, can really make a step change in the last mile experience. The first thing is that, we have several tools like Locus and others which try to do route optimization. But still, I think the intelligence is far from where it has to be. It is very, very still, I would say, numerical. It tries to optimize distances and all. But the intelligence around, whether there is a, for example, a railway junction in the middle, and really how long does it take for the person to cross, and all of that. So how to really create true artificial intelligence, which really breaks a hub serviceability into, manageable routes. I think that is still, you can apply heuristics, but I think it's where it's something where artificial intelligence can play a big role, right? The other thing is around uh, all the packets are shipped and we don't open. Only customer has the right to open, and therefore there is a lot of challenge around how to separate genuine customer versus fraud customers, right? I think for people who are part of our seller ecosystem, one of their biggest worry is handling returns, and therefore we really need to figure out and identify patterns around customer order placements, etc., etc., as to whether are we servicing customers which are genuine or not genuine. Also, it leads to certain bad practices, which is where intelligence can really create those red alerts at the right time, that in this lane there is something wrong, and then of course you can apply your own conduct your proactive actions. But just the whole simple act of intelligence bringing those red alarm beeping those red alarms on the lanes where we have a problem, it's going to generate enough value. The other thing which is very, very important in last mile is, and this is something that in the industry tracks, is what we call as first attempt success rate. You really don't want your customer not to be present, and especially it is not maybe relevant for categories like grocery, because customer is more or less he's waiting for the order. But for regular items like fashion, electronics, we have around 10% of customers who are not present when we need, I mean when actually our people go there. And therefore there are a lot of things around whether it is a weekend challenge, whether it is the profile of the individual. Is he available only during lunch hour? Is he busy during office hours? So understanding his pickup patterns, understanding his location, and really predicting that when is he most likely to be available, I think that's going to bring a lot of efficiency in the entire chain, because one missed order at the doorstep is like waste of entire time and effort of the individual. So I think simple things, but if you really bring them together, last mile is all about bringing the delight at the doorstep, making sure that the attempts are not waste. And therefore I would say artificial intelligence can be more powerful than a lot of physical automation, because our approach is to really go for smaller facilities closer to the customer, and reduce what we call non-value adding activity between the customer location and our last location. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Rudra. I think a second part of the question essentially was the availability of infrastructure to expand and meet the current demands that you've seen in the post-pandemic scenario.
Sure. Yeah. So again, I will start from where I left, because we want to really be close to the customer, and the industry is growing rapidly. We want to be so. If you take example of a city, you want to take say 100,000 square feet property, because that's the scale. That's the scale that the financially you can justify, because you are trying to get close to the customer. At that scale, the biggest challenge first is getting properties which are compliant, which have the right even though it is a very small setup, but you expect certain characteristics of a warehouse to be available. Simple things like you want the vehicle, a place where you can the inbound vehicle can be staged, right? Because in the cities, if you park the vehicle on the main road, then it's a challenge. Then you want facilities which can accommodate vehicle two-wheeler parking, because again your large workforce depend upon two-wheelers, right? The third thing is you are growing very fast. So if we go for say 3-year plan and build facilities which are 2x or 3x of today's requirement, there is inefficiency in the early, say, first half of the life cycle of the asset. If we really go for too small, then every year we have to renew our facilities. Therefore, it's a constant struggle between long-term strategic approach versus tactical opportunities where you are actually continuously hopping on to facilities in to match your requirements, and therefore not keeping any flab in the early days. So I think a large part of challenge is basis the the compliance and the ecosystem that we operate in, but also the enigma around managing growth versus stability of the units, right?
Thank you so much, Rudra. I think that was insightful. Shweta, last but not the least, my next set of questions are essentially to you. Representing one of the largest express transportation companies, how has e-com changed the last mile delivery business for somebody, your organization? And what are your strategies? You heard end clients talking about delivery challenges. You talked about technology challenges. So what is it that you're doing as a strategist in your own environment to help clients in the space? Over to you, Shweta.
Great. First of all, very good afternoon, warm good afternoon to everyone. And thank you for allowing me to participate in this panel where I'm joined by such esteemed panelists. So, while it has been last 1 decade or so where entire transformation of switching from conventional brick and mortar store to an online e-com platform has happened, but Safe Express has been into this space for last 2.5 decades. And last mile is not new to us, and we have been doing it for last 25 years. And this is all time definite express door-to-door distribution where first mile and last mile are integral part of our services that we offer. And over these years, we have evolved to a level where we understand the nitty-gritties and all the challenges that have been shared by our fellow panelists, have been addressed, and we have been continuously addressing because we are operating in country as diverse as India is, and as developing as India is, and every day there is a new challenge. Every day we have to bring up with or come up with new strategies. I think there's some network issue. Am I audible? Okay, great. So every day we are facing with new challenges, whether it was GST coming up or any other legal compliance that is required, or operating in country like India, it would mean jostling with and navigating through all kinds of challenges, whether these are no entry barriers, bans, religious and political processions, no parking, green taxes in certain cities, and different market closure timings. So different markets will have different week offs or holidays. So even if the whole market is closed, and one of your consignee is ready to take the deliveries, then we have to make it happen. So Safe Express has evolved, and we have been operating throughout the year, round the clock, even if it is a holiday or a Sunday, right? And if this delivery is possible at the consignee end, we make sure that we deliver it to them. And especially talking about the COVID-related challenges, and such challenges would keep coming. So we just have to make sure that how can we be ready and resilient enough to cater to our customers' requirements. So whether it was pandemic or no, we were operational throughout, and wherever the deliveries were possible, we had to make it happen, right? And in order to make it contactless also, we were ready with our digital platforms and digital ways of collecting payments, or it was, they wanted contactless delivery. So these deliveries were made through handheld tablets, which allowed us to, provide real-time delivery updates to our customers, and at the same time ensure that correct deliveries are happening without any manual errors and all. And we could actually capture the coordinates at where the delivery is happening, plus the route optimization, and knowing where the traffic is was possible because of such last mile technology that we have used across. So it's end-to-end technology enabled organization that I would say, we are, and such dynamic changes have to be addressed at every now and then, and it has definitely, each challenge has nudged us to think out of the box and to, and the responsibility was to catapult us to the next level growth, India to the next level growth. So, we all know IMF has projected 9.5% as India's estimated growth rate. So we make sure that we equip, we enable Atmanirbhar Bharat with making sure that we are available for our customers throughout, and we are at a juncture where we have to be ready for this tech agnostic roadmap, right? But it has to be very much relevant to your customer. How can you make sure that the customer requirements of visibility, of transparency can be made sure through the use of technology, like my fellow panelists have already highlighted about? How can you make sure that the environmental regulations and all such, reducing the carbon footprints are addressed, and making sure that India is ready for the next level of use of electric vehicles or alternative fuels that can be used. So we are very much there, and we are making sure that as soon as we have the required infrastructure, we should adapt to these technologies and make sure that we are doing our bit to ensure not only that we are up to that level where we are aligned with the modern technology, but also making sure that the value that we are adding to our customer is relevant for them. How can we be efficient? How can we make sure that our services are reliable and relevant to them, right? So as small thing as we were saying that we have to make sure we have infrastructure to cater to the last mile requirements. So it has been a continuous endeavor to make sure that we are present all across India. So when we talk about India, we mean every single pin code, 31,169 pin codes across India, right? So we make sure that through our hub and spoke model of 705 gateways, and it still will be expanded enough to make sure we are very near to our customer, and we can say that if it is booked, it can be deemed as delivered. So that kind of confidence we want to give to our customers, and definitely it will evolve. Specifically, and I'll take just one more minute, with respect to B2B, the last mile challenges are even beyond this, because a customer requirement would be, for example, for automotive customers, this can be vendor managed inventory, wherein you have to make sure that the inventory is available just 1 day in advance, and the same date is delivered to your customer in bins, and in the form that they can put it directly to their assembly lines, right? So something like this, small deliveries. One of my fellow panelists highlighted that there are no cargo lifts, and even if these are lifts, these are passenger lifts. These are not meant for the delivery of cargo to the multiple floors. So multiple floors delivery, the delivery boy has to make sure that this thing happens. With no entry timings, we have to make sure that our vehicle is ready at the location where it has to be delivered. And when the mall opens, we can deliver it to the malls, right? And something like appointment delivery. We don't do B2C side of it, but then for e-commerce giants, we do the B2B side of it, wherein from the different customers, the material reaches to their fulfillment centers. So even in these kind of deliveries, they want appointment to be taken before the delivery can be attempted. So appointment delivery is again a challenge. Then talking about deliveries to canteen stores, government canteen stores, this is again a different complex ballgame altogether. So, keeping all these things in mind, we are making sure that we are very much there according to the customer need, and definitely we have to make sure that the India's growth story continues. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shweta. I think we have a question, but before that, I have a personal question. I think with so much of employment opportunities that the sector is generating, one aspect that we've not discussed is essentially the talent acquisition. So my question to Bipin is, And then I would want Rudra's inputs as an end client is there enough talent available? And what are organizations like DHL and Flipkart doing to train and groom talent for this growing industry? Over to you, Bipin.
Thanks, Jasmine. I think that's the right question to ask. In fact, it's not about just delivering, because ultimately people are going to take it. Drone is going to take its own time to come down and deliver. But at least till now, the people are there and people have to be there to deliver the products. And human interventions are important at this stage. And when we look at our country being the highest, second highest population in the world, and we feel the talent is available and the people are there. But when we go in the market, the availability of the people becomes a bigger challenge. And then we start wondering, where are the people? Government says there is a lot of unemployment. I mean, people are saying a lot of unemployment, but where are the people when we need them? Right. And definitely, I think that getting people is definitely a big challenge. It's not about just getting people and putting them on the job. It's all about getting people, putting them on the job, training them, giving all aspects, because you're not just training them how to deliver the product, but ensuring how the compliances has to be met en route when you're delivering the product, right? What are the ways to engage with the customer? What are the ways of engaging with any authorities in between when they come in, and in a compliant manner? And all those trainings, when you put that effort, and there is an attrition which is very, very high, considering, because these are the class of people who are for the last mile delivery, especially at the pay scale which is slightly lower, right? They are at minimum wage riding, and if for them 50 rupees jump or 100 rupees jump a month if somebody else is offering, but that's a big amount for them to switch over. So that attrition to be beating and getting the new resource, it's a big challenge for the industry at this stage. That's where we definitely feel that engagement with them is the most important. It's not about salaries. How do we engage with them? How do we connect with their family members? How do we call them to the family? How do we sponsor their children's for the various scholarships, programs, and all? That's what keeps them engaged more, and that's where we are more driving towards, to ensuring that it's not just hiring people, but connecting with their family, connecting with their emotions, and connecting with the entire aspects of the everyday need. It becomes more and more important for us.
So thank you, Bipin. Rudra, your inputs?
Yeah, I think I couldn't agree more with what Bipin said. I think he said that government says that there are people, when actually when you go out and try to scout, you really feel where are the people, the kind of people that you need. So I think first of all, although industry looks at this segment of opportunity as and probably pegs it in the I would say minimum wage kind of strata, but actually it is actually a very, I would say, it looks to be a low skill profile job, but actually it is not. You need to first of all be very, very conversant with the technology, right? You need to be comfortable with because the entire process is digital, and they need to use their biode as a gateway to basically the data and the actual shipment has to move in tandem, and this is done through the entire technology. So that itself is a big filter. A lot of people get filtered out because they are not conversant, or they don't have the confidence to really manage the entire process on a digital platform. The second is, this is not a job where you're working within a facility. You come, then you work in the same box for 8 hours and leave. You have to go out there, you have to go out in the field, and there are different terrains, there are different types of customers, while we always train our people to be polite, but you cannot guarantee the same on the other side. So there's a lot of, you need to really keep the energy level very high. And also the industry, e-commerce industry, the sales patterns are not uniform. So the other challenge is, how to really manage spikes, because you need people for a certain period, and because by design the industry has come to a point where most of the peaks are not are actually converging. They are not at different point in time. So that's another big challenge. It's like Diwali, so everyone will have programs, and so you only have a limited pool out there. I think important thing is that, and government has also started trying to create logistics skill council, building capabilities. So I think it is important that we treat this industry as where hard skills are required, and create a learning infrastructure, because it takes time for people to come to appreciate the the challenges in this job. And if you are not up for it, then like we've been mentioned, attrition becomes a challenge. So while of course, overall pool of people are there, when you apply these filters, it is a challenge. And yeah, the only way to manage that is to create talent pool and understand, connect with them, at an individual level, show the purpose. I think many a times people are here for short haul, they look at it purely from a transactional standpoint, right? And at Flipkart, we believe that, these are not delivery partner, we call them wish masters. So you actually fulfill the wish of the people. It can be, a birthday gift of a kid on the day of the birthday. So I think once there is a sense of purpose and people believe that yes, what they're doing, they're making a positive contribution, this makes a little bit of difference. Even a good gesture from the customer, really acknowledging that somebody has come. I think we saw a lot of examples of that during the, at least the wave 1 of the pandemic, where it was completely a new environment, and people appreciated what we are, what our Wishmasters are doing for the society, for the economy, for the entire country in general. However, I think we did not see the same kind of warmth in the second wave because it was probably taken for granted. So I think it is our job as industry professional to really imbibe that sense of purpose. Otherwise, it's very transactional. People are here for short haul. They come here. If somebody is coming into the city, probably this is an easy starting point before they get onto something that they're looking for. So overall, I think if you apply the filters, it is a challenge, and industry have to really prepare for it. It's not so obvious to go out there and get the right talent.
Thank you, Rudra. We have a question from a gentleman called Alok Kumar. Tapan, the question is, what is the tracking mechanism in the last mile delivery? If you could take a minute, because we've already exceeded our session time by 2 minutes. Over to you, please, Tapan.
Yeah, say on the tracking mechanism, the customer expects multiple information, right? Right after he has placed the order in a grocery, he expects whether all my products have been picked up or not. Once that aspect is taken care of, he expects to be communicated, has the prices undergone a change? Because at the time of grocery, you would have shown a price of 100 rupees, but at the time when you go, because we are in MRP scenarios and we would have multiple MRPs, right? So has there been, and what's going to happen if there is a change in price? Will you get a refund or this thing? So that's another tracking mechanism. Third is my delivery on time or not? Has it left the premise? Is it arriving on time or not? Has it arrived? And then depending on the society or the environment where the customer resides, right? Then there is the additional leg, which is not getting captured, but it is also expected. We are seeing customer asking us if your delivery boy has reached the society entrance, there has to be that communication back to us, right? So there are multiple legs of mechanisms where the customer is engaged and he expects that information to be relayed back to him.
Thanks, Tapan. Because of a paucity of time, I think we will need to end up this session. If this question has not been answered, Alok, you can write to Rema at India Warehousing, and we'll make sure we get you an adequate answer. I would, as always, it has been a very insightful and learning experience for me. I hope everybody in the audience has actually learned from our esteemed panel members. We basically talked about last mile delivery and the changing landscape in this domain in the post-e-com, post-pandemic era. I would like to thank India Warehousing Show and the esteemed panel members for taking out time and participating and sharing their views. All the more reasons to thank the audience who's taken out time during a busy Thursday and joined us today. We will now close this session. Thanks to everyone. I wish everybody a very good day. Stay safe, please. Goodbye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you all the speakers for sharing your thoughts. And I'm sure today's takeaway will be very helpful for all of us. We appreciate you being here. Now, before we end this session, can I request my team to play the AV of Zebra again, since there was a technical glitch in the starting and it was a very interesting video. Can we play the AV please once again?
In today's on-demand economy, gaining a competitive edge requires an unrivaled solutions partner. one you can rely on to provide operational data in real time, so your frontline workers can answer constantly and with relative ease the following 3 questions without fail. What is it? Where is it? And how is it? In any business, determining the what of the matter is critical. For instance, can your clinicians validate this exact pacemaker isn't on recall before it's implanted in a patient? Or what's the most efficient path to pick the 3 rush orders that just came in? And did that customer just use self-checkout to pay for a potato when they actually bought a steak? The where is equally crucial. Where is that forklift with a pallet of raw materials needed to keep your production line running? Or where in the yard is the trailer that is supposed to be at dock 12? Your inventory system says you have 20 containers of your best-selling baby formula in your store. But are they actually in the right spot on the shelf? And how critical is knowing how? Very. Can your medical team easily determine if these vaccines were exposed to damaging temperatures while in transit? How optimized is the load on that trailer? The one that's supposed to leave in 30 minutes? And how secure are the thousands of mobile devices and printers being used across your operation? Being able to answer these questions is essential to the success of your business. And when your teams on the front line have to do it across your entire operation, round the clock, every day, it can be daunting as well. That's why you need a partner that has deep software, services, and solutions expertise to complement more than 50 years of purpose-built technology leadership. Enter Zebra. Right now, we can help you not only answer these questions, but empower your front line to act on the most important question of all. What should they do about it? Because information is insightful, but action is invaluable. With Zebra, you benefit from our deep understanding of your industry's workflows, our experience analyzing massive amounts of real-time data, our leadership in prescriptive analytics, and our continued innovations in software solutions and services, giving you more visibility across your entire operation, increasing the productivity of your frontline staff, and helping you better serve your customers. So put your data to work and ensure every asset and worker is visible, connected, and optimally utilized, and gain a performance edge right now with Zebra.
Thank you so much. Now I request everyone to join back the exhibition where we have the best suppliers of the industry waiting for you. Enjoy networking and have a good day. So thank you so much from Reed Exhibitions, and have a good day and stay safe.
Thank you so much.
Everybody,
Thank
stay
you.
safe.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.